They're heavier than I thought. Zuko couldn't carry the boy and two women much longer, so he started to look for a place to land. He was a small enough dragon to land almost anywhere, but landing was tricky, so he would rather aim for an open space. Flying is so wiggly. How are you supposed to not hit every tree on your way down? Zuko eyed his surroundings and saw a small clearing next to a creek. Perfect. Just one problem. How would he make land with passengers in his front paws? The answer to that dilemma was thankfully simple enough. Ouch! The Water Tribe kid yelped as Zuko dropped him and his two companions from a few meters above the ground before landing at the edge of the clearing, just in time not to hit any trees. Zuko should have felt happy. He got out of a bad situation unharmed, successfully carried people for the first time, and landed with his pride mostly intact. Not bad for my first day as a dragon. He felt relieved, but also frustrated and a bit paranoid. I looked for the Avatar for 3 years, and when I finally throw in the towel, who's the first person I run into? A friend of the Avatar. The Airbender can't be far behind. Destiny seemed to have a sick sense of humor. I could use Sokka as bait and lure Aang into a trap, Zuko thought, and then shook his head at the silliness of the idea. And then what? Carry the Airbender back to the Fire Nation in my claws? I'm sure no one tried to shoot down a dragon headed for the Fire Palace. That was the price he paid for accepting Tu Li's gift. Returning home had just gotten even less likely. I wonder if she did that on purpose, if she's punishing me, or father, by setting us against each other like this. Or I'm probably just being paranoid. I doubt a spirit would do something like this on purpose. They probably just didn't understand humans well enough to foresee unintended consequences like this. Could Zuko ever go home now? Did he even want to, after learning what Ozai tried to do to him 6 years ago? Zuko huffed. He felt tired and confused, but now was not the time to get lost in sad thoughts. He needed to be determined and not let his guard down among these strangers. Zuko glanced angrily at the 3 humans he had rescued. Now that they were saved, he could leave and go on minding his business. Just because Destiny had a funny way of playing with Zuko didn't mean Zuko had to play along. He considered taking off, but decided against it. Based on the smell of blood, at least one of the 3 humans was injured. And he might have inadvertently made things worse by snatching them and then dropping them so carelessly. Whether Zuko liked it or not, these people were his responsibility now. He couldn't just vanish before he made sure they were well enough to get back to civilization on their own. Vanishing wasn't a problem when he left Uncle behind. A voice in Zuko's head reminded him. He winced at the thought. He had had his reasons to leave so suddenly, but now those reasons felt like a distant second to not knowing where Iroh was or how he was doing. I'm a horrible nephew. Zuko took a few deliberately small steps toward his captives. It was time to find out what the hell was going on. Sokka was talking to Illa in order to keep her calm and still while the Fire Nation woman, who had introduced herself as Ari, used one of the bandages-type garments wrapped around her forearm to make a makeshift support for Illa's broken arm. Sokka tried to sound calm and optimistic when talking to the Earthbender, but he couldn't stop himself from glancing over his shoulder from time to time to make sure their new friend was still keeping his distance. Yep, still there, glaring at us and tossing its head in an irritated, inhuman way. Great! Sokka guessed Eri, too, was helping him and Illa so eagerly so she wouldn't have to volunteer to be the one to do something about the flying monster. There, Ari said. That should do it. She should have a healer take a look at it as soon as possible, though. My knowledge of first aid is nowhere near the level of a practiced healer. Ilya nodded. She was probably in a tremendous amount of pain, but at least she was conscious. And we are all alive and safe thanks to, now that they had dealt with the problem they had means to take care of, they all knew it was time to look at the gigantic fire-breathing problem hovering at the back of their clearing. Sokka whispered to Ari. Is that what I think it is? If what you're thinking was a dragon, then yes, I think it is. Ari whispered back. What are we supposed to do now? Sokka asked. Ari turned to look at Sokka, frowning. What makes you think I know? Rolling his eyes. You're Fire Nation. Duh. Sokka looked at Ilya for support. The Earthbender was on the same page with him. I heard somewhere that dragons were connected to fire. It's more likely to be here for you than us. She had to speak through gasping breaths. That's not a good sign, Sokka thought, and made a small mental note to keep an eye on Ilya's level of awareness. Gotta keep her talking. Ari looked annoyed. You gotta be kidding me! Just because I'm from the Fire Nation doesn't mean I have any idea what to do when meeting a dragon. Why should I? They're supposed to be extinct. Look, no need to get all riled up. I was just trying to... Wait, do you mean extinct as in airbenders extinct or just really rare extinct? Sokka asked. I mean extinct as in no one has seen a living dragon in my lifetime extinct. Really? Yes, really, trust me. I'm more surprised than anyone the dragons still exist, let alone that they live so far from the Fire Nation. The three youngsters looked at the dragon again. It had made its right side turn toward them, but its amber eyes were clearly watching their every move. The dragon's body was long and sleek. Its skin and mane were dark as night, creating an effective camouflage at this time of day. Sokka thought he could see hints of gold creating a delicate pattern in the dragon's scaly body. The creature wasn't as big as Sokka had thought at first glance. Without any reference point, it was hard to be sure, but he's pretty sure it wasn't as big as Appa, at least not mass-wise. The dragon looked round-headed, almost cute, like a cub. Ari, this is probably nonsense, but just to be sure, this is a full-grown dragon, right? Still not an expert on dragons, but if the stories I've heard and the plays I've seen have any truth to them, my guess would be no. What are you saying? Ella asked, sounding more excited than worried. Surely something that big has to be full-grown. Ari sighed. I've never seen a dragon before, or met anyone who has, but the legends that describe the old, mighty dragons say they could gulp a Komodo rhino down in one bite. Also, in the pictures I've seen, full-grown dragons have 4 tusks and a large fluffy mane. This one only has 2, and no mane around its snout. Sokka looked at the dragon again, trying to compare it in his mind to the beast Ari had just described. Okay, Sokka said, trying to keep his voice even. He still needed more information to go on before making up his mind about what to do next. Since you obviously know more about dragons than the two of us put together, you should happen to know any legends about how to treat a mysterious young dragon that has unexpectedly come to your aid. With respect, Ari said. Honor and respect are kind of important in our culture. Something caught Sokka's eye in the way the dragon looked at them. Earlier it had been irritated and angry, but for a brief moment it looked almost amused. Ari went on. I don't know what this is of any help, but there's something unusual about that particular dragon. Its color. Maybe you should have started with that then. Ella tried to sound playful, but the pain in her voice rendered any good intention useless. Ari glanced at the Earth Kingdom girl, and Sokka, who could see a flash of pity in her eyes. She feels bad about what happened to Ella. Odd. That's not at all what I expected from a Fire Nation soldier. Well, Ella continued the conversation if there hadn't been any pause. What's this big secret you forgot to tell us? Ari shook her head. It's not a secret, just another legend. But my grandfather told me to beware the black dragons. Okay, that does sound important, Sokka allowed. He didn't have to specify what the scale color has to do with how dangerous a dragon is. I mean, why not the size of its claws or the heat of its flames or something? He said the children of Agni aren't supposed to be the color of night, and that seeing a black dragon is an unlucky omen. Seriously, we're down to bad omens already? Ella asked. I said it was probably nonsense, but you asked to hear everything I know, and since that doesn't happen to be much, then yes, we're down to superstitious nonsense. To be honest, I doubt the color makes any difference how dangerous a dragon is. I would guess black dragons are just rare. I mean, they're probably rare even before all dragons became extinct. The dragon was still looking at them in a funny way. Even on land, it appeared to be constantly in motion, its body slowly turning from one side to the other as it breathed or changed position. When you combine the eerie and human way of moving and the unblinking stare, the outcome was pretty unnerving. Still, if Sokka wouldn't have known better, he would have thought the dragon's gestures and expressions looked almost human. It was obviously curious about them and their conversation. For a brief moment, Sokka wondered if the dragon was keeping its distance because it understood how scared they were of it. Wait, it couldn't possibly understand speech, right? How smart are dragons? Ari looked thoughtful. According to legend, dragons were the original firebenders, and they taught the first human firebenders how to bend the element. If that is even partially true, then very. As Sokka weighed Ari's words in his head, he suddenly understood what it was about the situation that made him feel uneasy. Dragons are firebenders. Firebenders can read minds. Sokka looked at the black dragon with new eyes. He tried to remember what all he had been thinking about ever since meeting the dragon. Nothing then in the dragon's expression changed. If it had overheard what Sokka just thought, it had a good poker face. Okay, so maybe it can't hear my every thought. That's at least a relief. The dragon was still hovering around, as if waiting for something to happen, and it did look awfully a lot like it was following their conversation. Okay, if my theory is wrong, I'm going to feel pretty stupid in a few moments. Then again, that's nothing new. So here goes. Hi there, dragon. Sokka waved at the dragon. Thanks for saving us and all of that. You wouldn't by any chance happen to understand what we're saying? Zuko's eyes widened. He hadn't expected that. Although it was pretty stupid of people to presume dragons were dumb beasts, most people would have been exactly that stupid. What had led the Water Tribe boy of all people to this conclusion so fast? Zuko had been offended at first when he realized they were leaving him out of the conversation. Eventually, he decided their ignorance was a gift in disguise. This way, Zuko could learn what was going on without having to answer any questions himself. Now Zuko felt torn. If he nodded and tried to communicate with the humans, he would have more say in what they would do next. However, he played the dumb animal instead. They would keep underestimating him, and that could work to his advantage. Dragons couldn't speak the same way humans do. He could try to use the power of dragons to communicate with the humans, but if he wasn't careful, he might reveal who he really was. He couldn't try something elaborate like dropping characters in the sand, but Zuko doubted that would work well with his new claws. It might be easier to use the power now than he was a dragon. At least Huli had made it look easy, but Zuko wasn't willing to bet on it. There was enough misconceptions about dragons going around as it was. Better they not add to them. Zuko turned his head fully toward the humans, painfully aware that they might notice the scarred left side of his face, even if it was less prominent on his black dragon skin than it had been on his human face. Sokka, who had been about to say something else, closed his mouth, waiting in anticipation. Zuko nodded his head, and the three youngsters gaped at him. That could be just a coincidence, right? Sokka asked his companions, but even before he had finished his sentence, the dragon huffed and rolled his eyes. Or not, Sokka finished. Oh man, why do I always have to be right? Sokka exchanged a look with Illa and Ari. Undoubtedly, they too were thinking back on the conversation they had just had. What do you say to a dragon? Okay, dragon, Ari elbowed Sokka, who in turn gestured for her to say something if she thought he was doing such a bad job of it. Ari rolled her eyes, but did as he suggested. Mighty dragon, we respectfully thank you for saving us. Is there anything you want from us in return? The dragon shifted his weight, seeming to be weighing his answer. Then the creature shook his head, declining the offer. So what do you want? Ella said from the ground, sounding almost challenging. Why are you still here? The dragon stared at Ella, or more exactly, at her arm. Sokka realized. Wait a second. Are you concerned for our well-being? Sokka guessed. The dragon made no obvious gestures to confirm or deny Sokka's assumption. Are you alright? Ari asked. Sokka turned to look at her as she realized the question had been addressed at the dragon, but to Illa. Illa opened her mouth to respond, but no voice came out. For a moment, a flash of pain crossed her face, and then without a warning, she was out of it. Illa! Sokka kneeled down next to her, Ari in tow. Sokka shook Illa by the shoulder of her healthy arm, calling her name and telling her to wake up. She was fine a minute ago, Sokka yelled. She might have had other injuries we overlooked, Ari speculated, while trying to find Illa's pulse. If there are internal injuries, we are out of my depths. We have to get to a real healer, now. Oh man, I wish Appa was here, Sokka exclaimed, not only true appreciating the freedom that came with traveling by flying bison. I don't know who Appa is, but unless he's a healer, I doubt he could help us, Ari responded solemnly. Illa's with the militia, right? Sokka nodded, not sure what that had to do with anything. Ari winced. That's not good. We're probably surrounded by Earth Kingdom settlements, but we'll still be hard-pressed to find someone who'd be willing to assist a militia member. They're not exactly popular around here, and her own people did this to her, so we can't exactly count on their help either. Sokka was trying to think fast. We don't have to tell people she's militia. All we have to do is take the stupid wristband off. The bigger concern now is how are we going to get her to one of those settlements? I mean, we got to be close to a town, right? Sokka looked around himself as expecting a town to have magically appeared in the vicinity. There's always a town nearby in the Earth Kingdom, in some direction. Ari sighed. I'm not from around here. I don't know the mapping of the surrounding area. Something brushed against Sokka's left arm. A blade of grass, maybe? Then he guessed what it was. He realized it was definitely something bigger than a blade of grass. Yikes! He gasped and jumped to his feet, away from the dragon's whisker. How could something that big move so quietly? Things that can fly are creepy, Sokka decided. Then again, hadn't he just asked for a flying creature to come to their aid? You can fly. You can take her to safety, Sokka realized. Can we trust it? Ari asked cautiously. Maybe not, but to be fair, I don't exactly have any reason to trust you either. What choice have we? The dragon cocked his head in irritation, obviously wishing to convey something, but having no means to do so. What are you trying to say? Abruptly, two of the creature's tentacle-like whiskers reached out to touch Sokka and Ari. Before Sokka had time to put up a fight, he was no longer in the clearing by the creek. Sokka was standing in the middle of a stone-paved courtyard. The edges of the courtyard was blurry and shifted ever so slightly in the wind. Behind him was a stone building, built against a hill. As far as Sokka could tell, the construction was really old. The next thing he knew, Sokka was inside the building, flying past a few corridors and stopping inside a room that had a hot fireplace and smelled of herbs. A healer's office. Sokka had never been to this place, but something about it, in fact everything about it, was telling him it was safe. The connection ended, and the surprise of being earthbound again caused Sokka to fall to his knees. He knew that Ari also looked dazed, but had managed to stay on her feet. What was that? The Fire Nation soldier exclaimed. Sokka shrugged. Dragons can show people their thoughts. Ari turned to stare at Sokka. But that's... And how do you know that? It's a really long story, Sokka sighed, not adding that showing memories may not be the only creepy talent dragons possess. That place, Sokka turned to talk to the dragon, is close, right? The dragon nodded and Sokka went on. It's safe and it has a healer? You want to take Illa there? He had meant it as a question, but it came out more as a statement, as Sokka realized he knew exactly what the dragon was planning. creepy. Moving too smoothly for its size, the dragon half jumped, half flew past Eri and Sokka. Eri hated the way dragon could move so unpredictably. As a Yu-Yan, she had a lot of experience hunting things, but even as she had a hard time guessing where the dragon would move next. It seemed that having a conversation about what would happen next was more a formality. If the dragon really wanted to take the militia girl with him, there was nothing she or the Water Tribe kid could do to stop it. "I'm coming too," Ari stated, half regretting the words as soon as they left her mouth. What am I saying? I can't go AWOL just to make sure an enemy fighter is safe? The protocol demands I report to the nearest Fire Nation outpost ASAP. What would my squad say if I was seen aiding an enemy? Ari quickly thought that over. My squad would understand. I owe a debt to this woman for saving my life, and damn it, I don't leave a woman behind, temporary alliance or not. The dragon shook its head. Ari took a step forward, ready to argue her point. The dragon tensed and growled, warning her to keep a distance. Someone's hand was on Ari's shoulder, trying to pull her back. Acting on reflex, she grabbed the arm and pushed it away. Sokka mumbled something about ungrateful Fire Nation scum. Ari supposed to glance to make sure the boy wasn't hurt, but that was a mistake. The moment her eyes left the dragon, a whiskerer was on her again. The message was short and had no words. It was an unmistakable no, but more like a "I can't take you with me" than a "I won't take you with me." The dragon pulled back. Ari got the feeling the dragon was afraid of her. Afraid of a weak little human like me? Then again, the weak little humans had wiped out almost all of the dragon kind, Ari realized. Maybe it should be afraid of me. What did it say? Sokka asked. It said no. Should I go then? The boy continued, sounding earnestly worried. No, Ari said. Secret sanctuaries need to stay that way. Stay hidden. We're going to have to take a leap of faith here. Ari bowed to the dragon, hoping they had reached an understanding. In one movement, the dragon grabbed Illa, spread its wings, and flew into the darkness of the morning. Ari stared up to the sky until they couldn't see the dragon anymore. Ever since she had been ambushed and captured by the Earth Kingdom militia, her life had been getting more and more surreal. I kinda need to get going too. My friends are probably really worried about me. Do you have a place to go? Ari looked to the Water Tribe kid and rolled her eyes. What was with everyone trying to rescue her tonight? She was beginning to feel like a real damsel. She put on her tough, unreadable soldier face before responding. I'll be fine. Ari knew how to move in the forest and could tell by the stars which way she needed to go. It would take her several days to get back to Paiho's stronghold, but she could do it. She was a professional. There was one more thing she wanted to say before leaving, though. I don't know why you saved me tonight, but you did. I owe you, Sokka, the Water Tribe, you, and that crazy earthbender, and that dragon. Then Ari hurried into the darkness, leaving the Water Tribe boy alone in the clearing. Zuko had sworn to himself years ago that he would never return to the Order of Shadows. Then again, it was a night of many firsts. He knew the monastery wasn't far. He also knew that if he intended to find a place that would welcome a dragon, an Earth Kingdom misfit, and not tell anyone about the occurrence, the list of places wasn't a long one. At least they knew how to keep a secret.